Yeah. Hello, Blue Otter League universe. It is I, T.I. Romeo, right now. Bully should be joining us in a bit, but we are getting into the draft of week 2 here. CB Hydra taking on Clinical. Both these teams managed to slot themselves into the top of the table after week 1. Both of them currently 1-0 in series records, 2-0 in games records. And we're starting off with some hot bands here. Of course, Clinical have taken GP and Set off the table. Meanwhile, Hydra, they've taken down the Elise. We're about to look at this second minute. This should be a very entertaining set of League of Legends. Of course, last week, Clinical went against the Nameless Asylum and were able to pick up a 2-0 victory. And of course, Hydra were able to take down the Crawdaddies. And now they're going to be going head-to-head in a best-of-3 series. Now, we see Silas gets knocked out. Annie, of course, one of the most oppressive supports right now, also knocked away. And something worth mentioning is we are now on patch, I believe it's 12.5, which means there has been a wild amount of buffs and nerfs. One of them, of course, went to that GP. I believe one of them also went to Annie. And of course, Yuumi disabled this week because God knows there is 1,000 problems with that champion, from tier bugs to just, I mean, it's Yuumi, right? Nobody likes seeing Yuumis in their games, and thankfully we won't be seeing it this week. Interestingly enough, we see the Mordekaiser ban. That's a champion that was really strong at the start of Season 13, but recently got a lot stronger after this last patch. I've been seeing that champion go wild across the games. And of course, it looks like we're getting Clinical. They're picking up Olaf as a first pick. Now, it's either going to be going to Bunny Killer or Pharma in the top or jungle. Most likely top. I know Bunny Killer plays a lot of Olaf. I think he's rocking a 60% win rate with it right now. Now the counter, we're getting the Jarvan and Seraphine. Jarvan's a really good answer into Olaf, in my opinion. Personally, I love picking up Jarvan and Olaf just because it's really easy to hit the Cataclysm on him and then just bounce out with the Flag and Drag and completely waste his Ragnarok. It really makes it so that you don't necessarily have to focus Olaf in fights all the time. Seraphine, generally good pickup, good in support, good in ADC, good in mid. Xayah gonna be the counter answer to that. Now, Xayah's probably one of the top 3 ADCs right now. They're one of those ADCs that you can definitely just leave alone in lane and have a very safe play or be oppressive with it. I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen her get slightly nerfed soon. But yeah, I think it's a good answer. And as well, we're getting the Swain. Now, we're starting to kind of see a general team composition that Clinical is looking for. They're looking to be a very heavy, just engage and stick to ya. I mean, Xayah's kind of not necessarily the same way, as she's got a very good disengage, but overall, it looks like they're looking to play a fight where they can just kind of get into your face. Cassiopeia being picked up mid, I think it's interesting. They had Seraphine as a flex, kind of. They're letting them know that Cassiopeia is going to be the mid laner. I don't necessarily think it's Swain mid for Clinical. I more so imagine that's a Swain support, but it definitely could be. But we're going to have to see as we go into these next rounds of bans here. Of course, 2 bans going to be brought up from each of these teams. Right now, we're looking at the Nautilus. This is a champion that's been a lot more oppressive in the last couple of patches. What really, like, I'd argue the best engaged support besides maybe Rakan. I know Rakan's also been a very big threat. And funny enough, both Type 3 and 7 RUX play the hell out of Rakan. So I'd be surprised if we don't. Well, I guess we probably won't see a Rakan ban considering the supports are already on the table. But I guess both teams are banning supports. They're anticipating it. So that might very well be a Swain mid and a Seraphine ADC. It's going to be interesting to see what they pick up. And yeah, once again, we're getting another ban off the table. Alistar gonna go. I can tell CB Hydra definitely expecting a support to come out. They're very confident that's a Swain mid, hence the Cassiopeia pickup. And honestly, Cassiopeia is a very, very strong pick into Swain. And hell, it is just what Clinical wants to do overall, right? They're trying to get in their face. They're trying to be oppressive. They're trying to just stick like glue to the side of CB Hydra. So Cassiopeia's ultimate, being able to stun them as long as they're looking towards her, is going to be strong. And Fiora, going to be the last ban knocked away. I mean, I personally don't think Olaf is that bad into Fiora necessarily, but I guess Fiora is a very, very strong top lane champion. She's been kind of just in a nice place in Season 13 so far, and I believe Bully is now here to join us on the table. How are you doing, Bully?
I am doing absolutely fantastic. Has to double as a help desk person, plus, I guess, casting tonight. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, we were running the solo castle, you popped in, and Zeri just picked up by CB Hydra. It means we're going to be getting that Wukong on the Zeri. I was checking out his Zeri stats. I think it's like in the 70% in the win rate right now. Not a ton of games played, but definitely a lot of stats to show. And Zeri's definitely one of those 1v5 ADCs. Also, they got the Cataclysm they can work around with Zeri. If Jarvan, for some reason, Cataclysm's Zeri inside of like Olaf's trying to stick to her, she can, of course, hop right over. Leona and Maokai looking to be the last two picks on to Clinical. It's looking like a Maokai jungle, Leona support. Leona Zaya is a very interesting combo in the bot lane. What do you make of that, Bully?
Ooh. Well, it's gonna be a lot of CC. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it certainly will. It's if they're able to find Zeri, it will definitely help them. But I feel like Zeri's definitely one of those hard champions to catch, especially as a Leona, where you definitely need to land that Zenith Blade to make it work. And I think Zeri's just fast enough to get out of the ultimate of
Well,
Leona for the most part.
on the bright side, you have a Maokai who has a point-and-click route, so
Yeah.
they might be able to get on top of the Zeri. And the only problem is that look what else you're playing into. Now picking up the Alawi, you're playing Leona, Maokai, Swain, and Olaf, all trying to go in melee for him, basically. And the Alawi should just, if Alawi gets ahead, then it's just doomed at that point.
And also the Cassiopeia, when you have an entire team that's kind of gunning in to just run at you and stick to you, and you have a Cassiopeia who's able to just kind of shut that down right away. And like champions like Zeri, yeah, you can make the argument that Maokai can get on top of her, but Maokai needs to get close enough to do that. That's not going to be an easy thing to do into a very heavy disengage comp, right? Like, CB's very heavily playing for you to come into them, and that's really all Clinical can do, barring maybe the Zaya.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how Clinical plays this game, because it's obvious there's a lot of disengage potential from CB Hydra. And playing against the Cass, the Zeri, the Laui, and then eventually Seraphine, I feel like the Hydra comp can just kind of play like more skirmish style, whereas it's going to be very hard for Clinical to stay on top of these major carries.
Yeah, they definitely have a full all-in. It's honestly, CB Hydra picked the almost the perfect comp to go into Clinical, if we're being completely honest. The only thing is, in this level of play, in gold, platinum, elo, like this style, like this range, one of the hardest comps to play are poke comps and disengage comps. I've seen multiple times it be a strong struggle for teams to successfully pull off the disengage, because a lot of times in this elo, you just see a ton of fighting and people really want to stick to the fights. Although, if they are able to make it work, it's almost certain that CB Hydra has the advantage in the majority of these team fights.
Yeah, but the big thing for Clinical is that they have so much pick potential. And if they're able to layer their CC, it doesn't matter if one of these carries have flash or not. They're going to be dead before they're able to use it. One thing we need to make sure we look at is how this Olaf plays in the top lane, because if the Olaf falls behind, then it's going to be very difficult for Clinical to play this game. But that's the opposite if Olaf gets ahead. If Olaf gets ahead of the Laui, then that split push Olaf potential is just enormous, especially because Olaf can just go crazy and not get CC'd and go directly for the backline. Even if the backline is just going to be, either Seraphine. Taking out the Seraphine will be quick. She's a very squishy champion. The Cass, if Zeri runs away, then, you're taking Zeri out of a place where she can do a lot of damage to the rest of your comp, and you're just going to create chaos for your team to just win.
That is certainly true. The only thing that makes that difficult is, one, Olaf kind of needs to get that advantage before level 6, because fighting an Alawi at level 6 as Olaf, where you just kind of have to sit into her and she's got all those tentacles smashing into you, it's kind of just a race to who's able to get that ignite first and just destroy. But I'm pretty sure Alawi usually does more damage in those one-on-one fights inside of the Ragnarok versus the Tentacle God. And the other thing is, with that Jarvan Cataclysm, if he's able to time it right and maybe pull it a stopwatch or flag and drag away, that Olaf can definitely be stuck for the majority of his Ragnarok timer.
and I'm very interested to see. I think this early game is gonna be basically determining who wins the game. If Clinical is not able to gain that lead in the laning phase, if Maokai's not able to get the bot lane a little bit ahead, or the mid lane a little bit ahead, or even top lane a little bit ahead, then I think we're gonna slowly see this comp kind of struggle against this CB Hydra comp.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there. When it is such an all-in comp, and a lot of them are early game champions, right? Like, well, not a lot, but like Olaf is a pretty early game champion. Leona definitely shines when you're in that laning phase. Maokai's a champion Maokai's a champion that's good all around, but one of the strongest points for him is when he's able to gank those lanes with his ultimate, being able to take up pretty well the whole lane with those, with the roots. They're definitely a lot stronger. When as you look at champions like Zeri, who's way stronger once you get to the team fight. Seraphine, way stronger once you get to the team fight. Cassiopeia, a champion that definitely excels when you're fighting in the rivers and in the corridors. And then Alawi, whose usually main purpose is that split pushing. You definitely see CB Hydra being a team where if they're able to get out of laning phase even, or even just like with a small deficit, even if they're down like only 1,000 gold, it's definitely going to be favoring them going into the later stages of the game.
Yeah. One thing I love about Xayah, it's gonna be very hard, just in general, to get on top of the Zyra, especially with this comp. If the Encore hits, great. But if it doesn't, it's gonna be up to the J4. But the Zyra always has the Feather Storm, and that's gonna be a very big disengaged tactic, or even an aggressive tactic, depending how the fight's being played out. But in my mind, this Xayah could just be free hitting the entire fight unless she gets picked out or if she goes a little bit too aggressive against this CB Hydra comp.
Yeah, she definitely could, especially with how many big, beefy threats and bruisers who can just lifesteal and sit in front of her. She just needs to make sure, and it's mostly on the rest of the team of Clinical, to make sure they're taking fights in a way where Xayah's able to keep up with them and be involved in the fight, right? Because when you have a team that's all in, it's oftentimes the ADC is the one who's kind of lost in the struggle trying to keep up with the rest of the team and can get picked by maybe a stray Jarvan or something. They need to be mindful, maybe make sure somebody's with that Xayah in case there is a flank or whatnot when the Olaf and Swain are trying to stick to the rest of CB Hydra.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what happens this game. Both teams are actually very strong. This is actually the return of Clinical from a couple seasons ago. They upgraded the logo. Their first logo was absolutely horrid, but definitely looks better now. So that's already a win in my book.
It's already improvements, is what you're saying.
Yep.
I've seen some pretty rancid logos in my day, and I'm quite glad that neither of these logos are poor at all. They're both very nice logos.
But I think we're going to the spec delay, and when we come back, we're gonna have this very solid game. I think, in my opinion, CB Hydra will win this one, but I will not count out Clinical, as they look very solid on paper, and I think with the right mindset, they will pull this one off as well, or they can pull this one off.
Yeah, we'll have to wait or see. We're going to go ahead and head into the spectator delay. So stay tuned, and in about 2 minutes, we will be heading in to Game 1 of CB Hydra versus Clinical. Stay tuned. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Game 1. We are on the Rift here. It looks like we're getting the standard 5-point from these two teams. Bully, are you excited for this first matchup here?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure before we got into game in the pre-game lobby, the top laner Big News basically stated that they have no idea what they're doing on Malawi. So let's see what happens. But right now we get some shenanigans. They are spot on the ward. While Type B's getting farmed by trucks.
You know, the truth is, I don't think you need to know what you're doing on Alawi.
True.
To be completely honest, when I get auto-filled top, the first champion I lock in is either Olaf or Alawi. Because Olaf, you just need to know to run at them and don't let them get away from you. And Alawi, if you can land E, you've probably won the fight.
Yeah, but look at this gold advantage already. No minions even slayed. And 60 gold going in the pocket of trucks in this bot lane on Seraphine.
I think that's GG, no? The sport's already got more gold. They're closer to getting war. That's kind of just GG. I'd call it here.
But that's one another big thing I wanted to highlight. So in this bot lane, it's going to be already difficult to good good route from fast beyond light. But in this bot lane, type 3 and I would say I'm just gonna call them Manaka. They could easily burst the Seraphine out, and I think that's gonna be the target in every one of these fights immediately because it's gonna be very difficult to stick on this Zeri.
Yeah, Zeri's definitely got a lot of movement abilities where she can just kind of get away from them, whereas Seraphine's significantly more immobile, and because of the weak nature of Zeri in the laning phase, it's gonna be hard for her to do a whole lot to protect that Seraphine, right? Like 7R UX is kind of the control of this lane when it comes to the side of CB Hydra, and it's kind of on
Oh,
her
look,
to
we have mid lane
determine
though.
whether.
That's
Yeah, we
gonna.
got the Jarvan gank, but also bot lane Maokai's coming in.
Oh, oh, that's gonna be a dead trucks, I think.
Yeah,
Oh
big Zed
no, he just
Blade
gave
root
it
play.
over. Farmer says that's mine, and that's unfortunate because Zai getting a kill this early is extremely nice. But I guess Farmo will be able to get their demonic embrace pretty early now with the 400 gold in their pockets.
Yeah, they did kind of hand it over to Pharma in a way. No one was really that desperate to get that first. Of course, 7RUX smart enough to hold that flash, knew they couldn't get away from it. And that means the bot lane's still not that far apart, right? Like, Zaya and Leona are only making it out with some assist gold. It's just that clear of Maokai gonna be slightly quicker. Of course, they have the Dark Seal if they can stay alive and find some stuff. It's a little bit of a cocky buy, but if they can make it work, it's definitely one of those gold efficient items if you think you can run with it.
And just to make it easier on your life, they just go buy trucks.
Okay,
Instead
it's
of
trucks.
7 RUX.
That makes. I was just gonna call it Rux, but trucks makes a lot more sense.
Fast Beyond Light is actually really low with no mana. Yeah, I was gonna say if they don't take a back here, that's just extremely greedy play. They will sack this top scuttle because of the priority they have right now in the top lane and the mid lane, and in the jungle. Even though we actually seen Jarvan show themselves multiple times, once in the mid lane, once in the top lane. Pharma was able to get a very good gank off, but they are down in CS just a little bit, and that's kind of expected.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. It's not too bad overall. When you're looking at these laning phase, really every lane's looking pretty even. And then of course in the jungle there was that first blood onto Pharma, but it hasn't really made that much of a difference. Of course, a first blood's always nice to have, but overall, when it's on a champion like Maokai, especially after the sapling nerf, having kills on Maokai isn't as strong as it used to be. And also, I'd even make an argument that I think and I've seen a lot of pros start doing this. After Shark, Maokai's kind of started to become more meta than the AP build.
Yeah. One thing I've been noticing this top lane, Bunny Killer 96 is extremely passive on this Olaf. Probably one of the most passive Olaf players I've ever seen in the top lane. You always see like that, the power that they have early, level 1, level 2, level 3, they could literally just run at you and kill you or force your flash, especially because they take Ghost, which Bunny Killer did. But right now, it's all big news, basically shoving in Bunny Killer.
And I think one of the hardest things for Bunny Killer right now, though, is the fact that there's just so many tentacles that he hasn't been able to destroy. Of course, there were 4 right there, meaning Big News can kind of take a fight at any point in this lane and have a tentacle or 2 to back them up. And that makes it really hard for Olaf, especially pre-Ragnarok. The thing is, I don't know if post-Ragnarok Olaf is a whole lot better, though, right? Because once both of these champions get their ultimate, I'm pretty sure it's just kind of Alawi who still gets to be the bully.
Yeah, I mean, it's Allow is just getting free base damage at this point, right?
Yeah.
Big News is not getting punished. So what's happening? Bunny Killer is throwing their axe, and they're not able to just keep staying on it because they're kind of like playing passively. They're using the axe to CS. They're now shoved into a point where Big News can actually freeze this wave up here, and Bunny Killer will be just out of luck while Split Breed is moving to this top lane, knowing this lane is basically frozen.
The only thing I'd be worried about for Split Breed is in an engagement here, right? Ragnarok goes off, and I think they pick up the Jarvan kill before Big News is able to take down Bunny Killer.
It's debatable because it all depends if Bunny Killer is able to basically pick up another axe, which I think Bunny Killer has been long shooting these axes multiple times, right? You can always short arm the axe so you could it's closer to you and you're able to pick it up, but it's always extremely far.
Yeah, that's actually a very solid assessment. But also on the other hand, if Big News were to miss the tentacle grab, then it would probably make the fight difficult again for both. It's really about whether or not Bunny Killer can pick up that axe in the time it takes for Big News to land that tentacle.
Yeah, like, but Bunny Killer is actually very healthy at this point, and Big News is taking a lot of damage. One more axe, they're basically taking down to 25% health. So I'm actually surprised Bunny Killer just didn't go for it and either try to draw out the Leap of Faith or just maybe even kill Big News before they're able to get a lot of damage off, because that's how the power of Olaf.
Yeah, but we're gonna be getting the first backs in top lane, and I think the interesting thing is we see Alawi. First off, they have TP, so they're able to take a back a lot more free of charge than this Olaf. But on the other hand, they've elected to go for the heal cut, which I think is a wicked smart buy for the Alawi. And I'm kind of surprised we're not seeing the same thing out of Bunny Killer, because I think this makes the fight so much more Alawi favored when you account for the fact that once you nerf the healing on Ragnarok with that Bramble Vest, the Alawi is just going to be out healing the Olaf for days. Meanwhile, the Olaf is just going to be trying to get the burst of damage, but the Alawi is going to out
Fast
heal.
Beyond Lies. Oh, we get a roam up here by Tide 3. So, as a Xayah, my favorite ADC is actually Xayah. They're pretty safe in this bot lane, especially there's not a ton of kill pressure. It's not like it's a Nautilus and a Zeri, but there is some. But at this point, it's pretty easy to stay safe, CS, and if necessary, you could use the Feather Storm in a defensive manner. Plus, you have your Flash and the Cleanse. So good roam by Leona, and Leona should be able to take advantage of the fact that they can pretty much move around the map knowing their bot lane is going to be pretty safe. And Alawi's got to be a little bit careful for the... Farmer might be dead!
Oh my god! There's no way! Just like that, the Leap of Faith was successful! And, of course, Maokai goes down. That's a first kill for the side of CB Hydra in a 3v1 fashion. That's gotta feel incredible right now, knowing your Alawi can do that so easily.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? When you play against an Alawi, knowing that you have to basically gank before level 6 because Alawi can 1v2 that easily, you're basically giving another soul, another body to just slap more tentacles on. And that's exactly what happened. The Maokai looked for the play, but they went under turret, and now they not only gave a kill to Alawi, it's going to force Bunny Killer basically back. If Bunny Killer doesn't go back, they're just going to be starved or even dove.
And the other thing here, too, although we're getting a fight between Split Breed and Pharma right now. Split Breed able to flag and drag out, probably going to hit the blast count, get away from Bunny Killer. And just like that, they're able to kind of just do a little invade and get away free of charge. But they weren't ready to commit to it necessarily, Clinical, as Type 3 never dropped the Ignite, which kind of
Oh,
just
the Anchor goes
shows
out.
their cards in that top gang. Because if that Ignite's not going off and you have no heal cut, there's no way you're ever killing that Alawi, even with CC.
Yeah, and a big reason why Split Breed is oh, we have a fight in the mid lane.
Yeah,
Oh, good
Maokai
root.
able to get the root, followed up by a Singe root, but of course, Split Breed here, the Flagging Drag goes in, and Fast Breed on Light, gonna use the Nevermore. River has to back away, low on health, and it looks like he's caught. Fast on Light, gonna pick up a double kill with the Never move, and that is a strong Swain in the mid lane
Yeah,
for Clinical.
I think River just forgot about the demonic extension in the mid lane, right? It was never popped, and River tried to kind of like help out Split Breed, but instead they gave their life to it. Now that's a 2-0 sway. Now it's going to be very dangerous, and that will most likely complete the Route of Ages.
Wait a minute, Wupong getting caught in the twisted tree line, and there goes Wupong, but Pharma gonna get lost by trucks. However, in this bot lane, a lot of plating being taken during this roam, which didn't really go that well for Hydra.
Yeah, I mean, Wupong gave up their life, they gave up their flash, their cleanse. Trucks had to use the ignite to secure it, and they got the kill. But in the bot lane, they were able to get a couple plays. In the mid lane, now Swain has their completed Rod of Ages, and a lot of time was basically given back to this bot lane. Even though the CS lead in the bot, mid, and top are all favoring CB Hydra, this game is still very close. Only a 500 gold lead for CB Hydra.
You know, that's kind of gotta feel a little bit bad if you're Clinical, though, right? Because of all the plating that Alawi's been able to take, too. Oh, wait a minute. Type 3 is kind of caught out here, losing a lot of health really quickly, and Type 3 gonna go down to River. They're not done. The Cataclysm comes out, but the Featherstorm also gonna come out. Split Breed caught, grounded, but he's able to survive the punishment, as it's just a 1-for-0 here for Hydra. But I was gonna say, it's gotta feel a little bit bad if you're Clinical to still be down in gold, despite having 2 kills up, but now they're almost down half a grand, a little over half a grand in gold, and it looks like this Inferno Drake is going to go to the side of CB Hydra.
Yeah, and Pharma's actually playing super aggressive, trying to get both these pink wards. But one thing to note in that play, it looks like Type 3 was looking to get vision, but their entire team wasn't there. Plus, everyone else on CB Hydra was missing, so they didn't have the information to go for that kind of play. And Splitbird was just in the pit waiting for someone to take the bait, and Type 3 fell right into that trap.
Yeah, and with that trap being laid, we're seeing CB Hydra coming into these later stages of the laning phase with a bit of a lead. And we talked about it in draft. It still feels like Clinical's on the clock right now, needing to get ahead. Because if they don't, we're going to see people like Zeri really pop off in team fights. And of course, we're already seeing Alawi run wild. They have the Cleaver, they have the Brambles, they don't even have Tabbies, but a big play coming out here. Of course, Zeri rooted, but smartly buffering the hop over the wall. The problem is Trux is trying to walk with her. A root comes out again. The ultimate comes out from Zeri, but it's not going to be enough. Maybe it will. Splitbreed able to hop onto the Xayah in the back lane. No one peeling for them. It's a free kill for the set of Hydra. 3v3 commencing. Wupong got on the side, but going to be able to take out Type 3. Trux and Splitbreed pretty well out. Wupong hopping over the wall, but they're not done. The demonic extension comes out, but it looks like Jarvan going to be caught. He's going to go down to Fast Beyond Light. Wupong getting slowed by it. Going to go down again. And now it's Trux versus 2 low health targets. They're both going to seep away. And it's a 2-for-2 in the bot lane. A big cleanup from Fast Beyond Light.
Yeah, and you know, that was very close. But the big thing there is you see how much damage Wupong was doing. And it felt like Pharma wasn't able to get on top and stick on top of Wupong, and eventually, even though it was a close fight and they were able to get a couple kills back, you can see how difficult it will be later in the game.
And the other thing worth mentioning too is we mentioned in draft about how people need to be able to appeal for that Xayah, because if they are caught by a stray Jarvan or something like that, that fight's going to be disastrous. They're definitely one of the main damage dealers of Clinical, and the one they've kind of focused their comp somewhat around, right? That AD damage, especially now that Olaf is, although not necessarily entirely behind, definitely has lost lane here. It's going to be on that Xayah in the fights to be doing a lot of that damage. If they're caught by Jarvan because nobody's left to peel, because everyone's kind of engaged, both Maokai and Leona engaging in that last fight, there's not going to be a whole lot of damage to back them up.
Yeah, and I feel like that's just the nature of Bunny Killer. They weren't able to 100% just take advantage of what Olaf can do in like the early game, right? And they basically sacked a lot of CS. They basically gave Alawi a free lane, and that's not going to bode well for later in this game.
No, it certainly isn't. Of course, that Alawi might only have a kill, but they have a bounty on their head just because of how far they were ahead. They got 4 out of the 5 plating in the plating run. They have a mythic. They have a kill. They're up 40 CS over the
That's
Olaf.
not a
And now,
mythic.
not a mythic, but a legendary item, right? First, they had the first item on the Rift. And here comes a big fight. Cataclysm going out. Twisted Tree Line going on as well. The Charm, the Encore is going to take down 2 people. A shutdown gets taken by the Cassiopeia. But Olaf, the Ragnarok's popping off. That's 1 kill. That's 2 down. And Hydra's kind of losing this fight. We've seen Alawi go down. The bounties claim the Herald's going to be picked up by Clinical. And it's a 3v2 in this river. Type 3 kind of going in. Decides it's not a great idea. Going to flash out. Are they going to be able to keep their life? No! The blast go to the wrong spot! And River going to be able to take down Type 3! It's even to the River, barring the Herald. And I think that's all we're going to see here. But Clinical able to pick up the Herald and the bounty. However, in bot lane, it looks like Xayah was killed off in the bot lane during that time as well. So it's evens out there, but the fight's still going on. Truck's able to survive, but here comes River looking to clean it up. Bunny Killer running for their life. Pharma getting the root. River able to take down Bunny Killer. Pharma running to the comfort of that tower, and now with Fast Beyond Light here to back it up, they're going to look to take down River, and the tables have turned as the shutdown goes to the Swain, and we have our strongest boss on the Rift right now at 5-1-3. Aroa half completed. He is fired up and ready to go.
You could say they're the strongest, but they're actually not, because Wukong actually has 300 gold more, and that's all because of CSing. It just fell a little bit short for Clinical's side. If Clinical was able to stay even in CS, I think these fights would have been a lot more in their favor. But instead, I feel like they're playing in the back foot. They feel like they're a little bit behind, while CB Hydra, they were making these aggressive plays, and I think it's gonna make. They have to make sure that Fast Beyond Light is able to stay alive in these fights, because in that Rift Herald fight, they died pretty early as they got caught by the Encore.
Yeah, that Encore was certainly very, very strong for the side of CB Hydra. And you can certainly argue that Wukong might be the strongest on the Rift. I think it really comes down to how the fight is played. If Fast Beyond Light can find their way to get that slow from the Demonic Ascension onto Azeri, definitely sides in their favor. But if Zeri's able to just course around and sprint like you want to do, like your Neon from Valorant.
And if you're Clinical, you have to give this up. Your Olaf is top lane right now. They don't have TP. You're going to be looking at a odd man fight. But, at this point, it looks like the positioning is just there for CB Hydra.
They do have first, but of course with Maokai, you're able to walk in as the ultimate connects with the entirety of CB Hydra. Cleanse is going out, everything's going out, and in this cluster of fight, Zeri able to pick down a target, and Alawi using those tentacles to damage everyone. 4 members of Clinical have fallen, and it's an ace for nothing for CB Hydra. They're picking up the dragon, they pick up 5 kills, and that's a massive gold swing in game 1 for CB Hydra so far. 5,000 gold lead. Plus
you're playing a comp that you have to run into them. You're losing your vision fight. You didn't get priority over this dragon. And now you have to run not only against a Seraphine Encore, but you have to run against a Cass, an Alawi, a Zeri. That's not going to end well for you, especially even if it's an even game, even if you were slightly winning. That's never going to end well for you. They had to know what they could do, and I think they should have sacked that dragon, CS'd, look for that top lane turret that they'll probably get, or at least get the Alawi TP out, and then contest the 3rd one or even the 4th one. You cannot make plays on these objectives without vision control.
And it's something that's so damning for so many teams. Even when I was casting NACL last weekend, it's one of those things where every objective people just want to contest in a game like League of Legends. And so often not dropping them can be the cost of the game. The other thing, too, is the target selection there was all on Big News. But once again, Type 3 held the Ignite, meaning Big News was just able to heal for days. And here's a 2v1, Bunny Killer and Type 3 going after Big News. The Ignite finally comes out, and it looks like the Ragnarok might be enough. It is just barely, as Bunny Killer able to find the shutdown. But is it too late? The objective bounties have come onto the map. There is a 5.5 thousand gold lead in the favor of CB Hydra. And this game, it's getting to the later stages. The Baron, of course, on the map now. And right now, the team of CB Hydra looks significantly stronger than the team of Clinical.
Oh no! Oh, I thought that was gonna be stolen by trucks right there, but you know, Farba barely gets it. Right now, the name of the game is gonna have to be vision. You have to look to make plays. You have to look to make picks, because right now in a straight 5v5 fight, oh, and
Look,
this is
speaking of picks, they're going for split breed here. He's able to flag and drag away to his team, but are there enough of them there? Of course, Alawi in that bot lane. It's a 4v5 for Clinical if they elect to take it.
Yeah, I mean, they just used the Nature's Grasp on that play, and it did not work out. But with Lowy going to be starting to split push, they got to be very, very careful. You don't have a TP unless you want your Swain to be down there, and that's your strongest member by far. And so if you give that up, then you know it's going to be an instant fight mid.
Wait a minute, the root's coming out. Rivered gets stunned, but they're able to get away. And here comes the Alawi TP. He is caught, and the demonic ascended Swain goes down off screen. Zeri and Zaya enter a 1v1. Zeri, of course, able to win it because of how far ahead they are. And Type 3 tried to back them up, but it's way too late. All for naught, and there goes the Leona. Bunny Killer and Pharma forced to run away, but it doesn't look like CB Hydra has done all 5 of them up. And they might be looking to claim an inhib, if not go all the way to the Nexus here. That T3 turret in the mid lane going to fall. That inhib is certainly going to be the next. And now it's likely we're going to start seeing them head over to Baron to claim that giant
I think they're gonna
worm.
try to basically bush Jesus. They know they got the vision over here. You can see it's just lit up, and as long as they don't go over any wards, they could just look to death bush one of these.
It is certainly a strategy, but they are starting that Baron. They could be ready to turn at any moment, should they choose, of course. Pharma does have the onus to steal.
Oh, looks like
is it possible?
looks like the Swain Fast Beyond Light is going bot lane while the other 4 members going here. And a big thing is that, let's see if it gets contested. Nope. Well, I feel like they could have known that was happening, and they could have had ways of testing it, checking it. But Fast Beyond Light was going bot lane. They do have the Farsight ward, so they could have checked it. But with Cass, with Zeri, they just exploded that Baron.
I don't think it's necessarily about knowing. They definitely knew it was happening. It was just, could they get there in time? And although Pharma was close enough to be there, I don't think there's a whole lot they could have done.
You could always pretty much cause a little bit of havoc, right? So that's basically a game losing. In my opinion, that's game losing. Because you're already down super far behind. Now how are you going to deal with this push? You lost your inhibitor. Now all these inhibitors are going to go, and you're going to slowly bleed to death. Giving up that Baron is pretty much the final hurrah.
It certainly could be game losing here. Of course, it's not over until that Nexus goes down, but I'm sure everyone watching feels pretty damn for Clinical. That third Ocean Drake, or the second Ocean Drake, third Drake for CB Hydra if they can claim it, about to pop up, and if that Drake gets claimed, there's just so many win cons left for CB Hydra as if this Baron isn't enough.
I don't think that Drake is... I don't think we're ever going to go to soul this game.
Yeah, it definitely looks unlikely, I agree, as 3 members of Clinical are trying to contest that final boss, Alawi, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Of course, that dragon...
Oh, why do I feel like Alawi's going to take, like, 3 with that?
It's a 4v1 here. She grabs Fast Beyond Light. They're hammering them down, and here comes the leap of faith. Is it premature? They're still going for Fast Beyond Light. Demonic Ascension comes out, the Ragnarok comes out, and big news is gonna go down. None of them fall with her. However, the entirety of CB Hydra are running bot with Baron right now. That T3 going to fall. That second inhib now claimed, and even though it's a 4v5, their ultimates are up. Demonic Ascension down. Ragnarok is down, but they are still going to pull away and wait for big news to come back. I think they want the family photo here.
Yeah, you know. What's the trade-off there? You get big news, but you lose your bottom side of the map. Now 2 inhibs down. The third one will surely be under pressure. And it's just going to be like clockwork, right? They're just going to bring these minions in. Big News is probably just gonna walk mid lane or bot lane in while the other 4 push top lane. And the same thing will happen, but this time if the third inhib goes down, it's gonna be almost impossible for Clinical to stop the supers.
Now, something I have to say that, on my opinion, is a little bit insane on the part of Clinical. It's the only person who has heal cut for this Leona, and for the Seraphine, and for the Jarvan, is Leona. She is the only one with a Brambles vest 25 minutes in the game. And I think that may have been one of the larger mistakes we've seen from Clinical this game, just because we've seen how much that healing has been able to do for their team. To only have one set of heal cut needs to change if they have any hope at surviving this final stand.
Yeah, but I think it all brings back to just the basics, right? They felt like they didn't have the gold to do it. And just going down in CS, top, mid, bot lane, was a big factor in it. They got the kills early. They were able to get the gold off of kills, but they were never able to get ahead. Those small victories weren't victories at all because they were falling behind in CS.
But here comes what they're trying to keep. Their last inhib is a 5v5 in this top lane. Of course, Baron is now down for the side of CB Hydra. They are just trying to push with the regular minions, albeit the wave clear isn't that good for Clinical. They're pushing into this T3. T3 looking to go down. The Demonic Ascension pulled out, but so is the Cataclysm. Here comes the Nature Grasp as it roots up all of CB Hydra. Everyone still ticking, but there goes Fast Beyond Light, and that's the opening to a fight that is solely in CB Hydra's favor. Type 3 is able to go down. Bunny Killer running to the inside of their base, and the Nexus turrets are falling. Number 1 goes down. Bunny Killer goes down. The second Nexus turret goes down, and soon after, we're going to see Big Pharma no longer existing, and they're looking to get that final kill before they take the Nexus. They're not going to fight it, but they are more than happy to pick up game 1 of this series. CB Hydra up 1-0.
And I would like to go back in the debate who was the strongest on the Rift, and that answer was Zeri, so I'm the winner in that aspect.
Wait a minute. Alawi did most damage. It depends what you're quantifying as
you know what?
strongest on the Rift.
I call Zeri the strongest on the Rift.
You know what? I got an idea. Chad, if you're listening here, drop the name of the champion you thought was the strongest on the Rift that game. Who's the MVP champion of game 1 here?
Fights never happened around, like, they sent 6 people for Alawi after a certain point, right? So Alawi's gonna always get a lot of damage off with the leap of faith.
I gotta say though, mad respect for River for coming up and Reddit being the first to type Cassiopeia. I see you, River.
But yeah, I think that was a well played game early on by Clinical, but as I said, it never felt like they had the edge because the items were always even, and even CB Hydra were slightly ahead. So
yeah,
they were never able to get these kills at points where they're able to take objectives or able to get something that gives them more gold. So these turrets were standing. They weren't able to keep up in CS. They weren't able to deny a lot of CS, and we saw that in top lane primarily, where it felt like Big News just had a free lane. And a big thing I think in gold leagues in lower, people just are afraid to play against Alawi, right?
Yes.
They know how much damage she can do. They don't really know the counter to Alawi, and they pretty much sack the lane, but that's probably one of the worst things you could do.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, although early we've seen Maokai play around bot side, we've seen like as we went to the second Herald and whatnot, it felt like they just were more focused on doing damage control than anything else, right? And I think because of that, it makes the game very, very difficult instead of maybe continuing to focus on trying to get like the Xayah ahead or whatnot. Because really, when I look at the Alawi Olaf matchup, the most you're ever really able to do is in that early game, right? For both teams, for that matter, right? Once Olaf gets Ragnarok, you're not CCing him. Once the Leap of Faith comes out, you're at more risk of just dying in a 2v1 and letting that trade be a 1-for-1 than anything. And it just felt kind of just a little bit interesting to focus bot early and then the Alawi once it was later on. I kind of understand you want to run damage control or whatnot, but I feel like the only way you're ever really killing Alawi that game is if Xayah is ahead, and with how far Xayah fell behind, it made it very, very difficult for them to do anything.
Yeah, and remember when I said they probably should have gave that kill over to Zai at the beginning? Um, that's kind of where I'm at. Is you always want your carries to get the kills, even if you're jungler. You say, "Oh, I deserve this kill." You know that's probably not what happened in their mind. But getting that early kill, the first blood onto your ADC, just does wonders for the early to mid game. In the top lane, yeah, I agree with you. Just trying to focus down the Lawi after the Leap of Faith is available is very, very difficult, especially when the Lawi is already very ahead in CS and gold against your Olaf. In my opinion, I think if you're an Olaf against that Lawi, especially because you're running 2 combat spells, you're running Flash Ghost, you need to play a little bit more aggressive, especially early, because you have so much base damage and ability to either force a flash, which can at least enable your Maokai be like, okay, this is going to be an easy gank top, or be able to position yourself to freeze the lane where a Lawi feels afraid to step up, or they'll just get one shot.
Yeah, I think that is certainly the case, and it's gonna make it interesting going into game two. What's going to happen, especially with Bunny Killer's playstyle, right? Again, the passivity this game was kind of damning as we moved. It just kind of felt like they bled out in that top lane, and the question is, how is this going to change, right? Because they chose to go with that Olaf pretty early on,
Yeah.
and
They're gonna ban.
now,
They're gonna ban Alawi. I'm gonna call it right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they ban Aloud. My question is, do they still pick an oppressive threat for Bunny Killer, or do they pick something maybe that's less oppressive in laning and more focused on team fighting, something like a Malphite, something?
I think they're fine. I think it was more of playing against Alawi, which kind of affected their ability just to play how they want to play. So obviously, I don't think just looking at what Bunny Killer plays, I think they do have the aggressive carry style play in the top lane, but it was just a fact that Alawi exist and kind of put them into a position is like, I don't know if I should play aggressive or if I shouldn't.
Yeah, they certainly do have. Like you look at their matches, and they play like the Camille, they play the Fiora, they play the Olaf, and right. So they definitely do have the aggressive playstyle when you're looking at those champions. But it's definitely in the big news going to be different when you look at big news' pool. Champions like Alawi, champions like Jax, champions like Cassante, champions like Mord, who's really good right now.
Yep.
So the question is, going into this next game, do you take that risk to play an oppressive threat into someone who was really, really damn strong for CB Hydra?
I think they should. That's how they play, so might as well keep going at it. I don't think that first game was actually just telling of how they played the game. So I can expect that it's going to be complete 180 from the first game. So right now, I think my pick was correct. I think what we saw from Clinical early on was great, right? So they made the play in the bot lane. They were able to get the kill. They didn't give up a lot to Jarvan early on because, you know, they attempted the gank mid. I believe the flash was blown. And then top lane, Bunny Killer was able to just run back without having to use anything. But overall, it's just keeping up in farm. I think if they kept up in farm, I feel like Clinical had a great shot to win that game.
Yeah, it's definitely something, but you have to. One of the things we don't get to see because of how much fighting was kind of happening in the top lane of the early games is why they weren't keeping them in farm. Whether it was the poke damage of like Zeri and Seraphine and Cassiopeia and whatnot, but now we get to see what changes are going to be made. We're back into the draft of game 2. It is on Clinical to win this game. Their back is against the wall. If they lose this game, their record becomes 1-1, and CB Hydra is going to be 2-0. CB Hydra has a little bit more wiggle room here, right? Of course, if they were to lose this game, they still have a game 3 to play for. First ban for CB, they take out the Elise. Not surprising, considering how good Pharma is at that champion. The set goes down. Olaf, surprisingly, goes down. I didn't think we'd see the Olaf go down, considering how hard Big News was able to shut it down himself. But I can understand with how strong the Annie, of course, gone. The Swain going down as well. CB Hydra, very respectful bans, despite how hard they were able to kind of close out the match. Although Swain was definitely one of the more powerful threats
Mhm.
on the side of Clinical. And of course, this last ban from Clinical, is it going to be the Alawi? Is it going to be the Zeri? It's going to be the Jarvan. That surprises me as well. I didn't think, when I'm looking at what happened last game, I'm not saying the Jarvan didn't play well, but I'm kind of surprised we don't see the Alawi or Zeri gone off the board.
I
What do you
think
make
they
of these
were
bans,
more.
Billy?
They didn't want to get locked down. Maybe they have another pick up their sleeves. Maybe because they have the counter this game, that they will just use as a counter pick. If they end up picking the Alawi, or oh well, they are daring them
Is that
to
going to
take
be locked
Alawi.
in? I like this if it's locked in, to be honest. Because you already took out the Olaf, which is like Mordekaiser's only losing matchup right now. And the other thing is you can still flex that into the jungle. I believe, if I'm correct, both Big News and Split Breed have the Mord in their arsenal. I imagine it's more likely to go to Big News. But to just have the threat of saying, we can pull this top, we can pull this jungle, you don't have the Olaf to counter it. I think that's a really, really smart decision. Of course, Sivir has ADC. It's going to be really hard for that bot lane to be ganked.
Yeah, and I think something that people don't realize is let's say the Alawi is actually locked in this game. Um, Alawi can basically negate the Mordekaiser ultimate. The Leap of Faith makes you unstoppable for a split second. So if you see the animation of Mordekaiser's ultimate going out, you can press the Leap of Faith, cancel it, and you now have the advantage over Mordekaiser.
Yes, that is certainly true. And I should mention I made a mistake there. It's Bunny Killer who or Pharma who have picked up the Mord because of course it is swap sides. Udyr being brought out here from CB Hydra. That is a jungler that's kind of in a weird spot. They're certainly still strong, but they're significantly less strong with the demonic Hydra nerfs. And now Nautilus. It's a Nautilus Sivir bot lane. I feel like that's also something we haven't seen as often in Season 13 until the last couple patches. It's nice to see, though, the engaged supports coming back in. And, of course, it could definitely roam a lot. I feel like Clinical's in a point here where both their lanes are super hard to gank for CB Hydra. Of course, Mordekaiser has a wonderful ultimate that if Udyr doesn't buffer with the CC immune, it's really easy for him to just kind of take the 1v1 and then get the bonus stats. And of course, how are you ever ganking a Spell Shield Sivir?
Yeah, I think playing the Nautilus here is, I think, a lot easier than playing the Leona against the Zeri. Now, you can just use your ultimate, and it's a point and click, and Zeri will get knocked up, and you'll be able to at least chain a little bit more CC on top, or burst Zeri down. Also, the Nautilus hook has a box of a bus, so it's
Yeah.
pretty much guaranteed to hit if you're like in the realm of I guess 3 pixels at least on each side.
Yeah, and we do see the Alawi go, we see the Silence go, we see the Malphite go, and we see the Gwen go. A lot of top and mid lane bans have been shown out throughout this second round of draft. And now Syndra gonna be picked up for Clinical. I think it's really interesting what Clinical have done here. They do
They're
have
flexing, yeah.
They do have quite a strong comp as you move out of the laning phase. Of course, Sivir's going to scale quite well. Syndra's going to scale quite well. But the other thing you notice is what lane can get ganked here, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really hard for any lane to get ganked. And I think this means that Type 3 is going to be able to do a lot of roaming on that Nautilus.
Yeah, and the Mordekaiser's still a flex. It could be jungle top, and they
Yeah.
kept that flex until the counter pick. We see the Soraka getting picked up, so that might not be a Seraphine support anymore.
It's got to be a Seraphine mid. I like, don't get me wrong.
Now
Faker's
it's
played
definitely got a
Soraka
Seraphine.
mid, but like...
Hey, we could have seen Soraka top.
If we see Soraka top or mid, I'll slip you a 20. I'll slip you a 20
But yeah,
mid
that
cast.
has to be a Seraphine mid now. That does one thing is you're playing in a comp against the Syndra and the Sivir, which you're trying to go in. You have the Udyr, you have the Renekton. Now I feel like the tables have turned.
Is a Kayn? A Kayn in comp? A Kayn in competitive 5v5 play? When I was doing my scouting, I seen that Pharma played the Kayn. But I was like, there's no way he pulls it out in comp, right? He's very good with it, but there's no way he pulls it out in comp. And that is a Kayn coming out in competitive play. That's something you don't see often because Kane's not like he's definitely much more of a solo queue jungler than a competitive jungler. But I think with the teams, he's kind of just able to farm up scale and pick like small fights when he wants to. It could be a really strong pickup here.
Yeah, I wonder what Kane they want to go. If they want to go just straight assassin, or if they want to go the
It's
Rost.
got to
And
be Ross this game,
yeah,
right? Like
I would imagine
into
so.
Udyr Renekton. If it's not Ross, I'll lose my mind.
I think you have already a lot of damage. And I swear to God, if Clinical
Yeah.
does not buy any heal cut here, if they don't buy the Grievous Wounds, I'll be extremely disappointed. Look at the champions they're playing against. They're
Who
playing
do you
against a
want to see
Seraphine,
heal cut on
Udyr,
their team?
Soraka, Renekton. Like, come on.
Who do you want to see the heal cut on? Is the question. Do you want it only to be on Nautilus, or are you hoping a couple champions pick it up this time?
I hope at least a couple champions need to pick it up, because it's gonna you kind of want to apply to everyone.
I mean, everyone heals on their team except for Zeri, if you think about it.
Hey, no, well they'll take Bloodline.
Well, yeah,
And-
okay. I'm talking like built into the kit here. Okay, any champion can heal with the bloodline.
Hey, what? It's an ADC, so you know that's a possibility. They build some kind of healing item,
it
or
certainly is.
just
They could even buy Bloodthirster or whatnot. I agree with you, but like,
Yeah.
I'm talking like pure kit wise. Even like in the early game, Seraphine can heal. Soraka is literally a champion whose life is to heal. And then, of course, Renekton and Udyr are champions who are very well known for being able to heal in their skirmishes.
Yep.
So not having heal cut would be insane. And listen, Clinical, you got that pill bottle. You got the medical assistance. You need to be able to cancel the doctors and make sure they're not able to heal their patients, right?
Yeah, and I think this game for Bunny Killer is gonna go a lot better. As long as they don't kind of use their their shield early against a Renekton, where Renekton can just break the shield, then they should be fine. Renekton will fall off later in the game, but it's still a lane bully, and as long as the Renekton doesn't get an early advantage, we're not going to see the same thing, hopefully, that we saw in game 1, where it's just big news going inside lane, doing a ton of damage, and the rest of the map taking objectives.
Oh yeah, I certainly don't think that is the case per se. Actually, this game, I'd have to say, when I'm looking at comp-wise, I definitely think Clinical has the edge over CP overall. Where last game, I thought it was the complete opposite. I really think their comp has a lot they can do, and this time, it feels like they scale super hard into the late game, and there's not a whole lot of options for CB to try to pull themselves ahead during the laning phase. I imagine we're going to be seeing like Udyr and Renekton really focus that Mordekaiser, especially because you got the shield break and the CC immune on the Udyr. But overall, even trying to do that's going to be very risky and very difficult. So if we don't see CB get ahead, I'm interested to see how they're going to pull themselves into the game. Because although they do have a lot of good team fighting options, I feel like Clinicals is just a little bit better.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Mordekaiser could just take out Soraka from right off the bat. If they have an edge on Soraka, taking out that healing is extremely important, because even if you don't have the Mordekaiser, you still have your Nautilus to protect. You still have the Scatter of the Weak for any aggressive plays by the Udyr or Renekton. So I don't think it'll take long for Mordekaiser to kill Soraka in the Shadow Realm. So you'll immediately have an advantage, probably within 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think if he can, I mean, if he's getting on a Soraka, though, there's already a problem.
There's already a problem, yeah.
If he's on Soraka, CB, what are you doing?
Hey, Flash is a thing.
I mean, like, yes, but to be able to flash and get completely on, like, if he doesn't die immediately after killing Soraka, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem. But yeah, no, I certainly agree with you overall. Like, Mordekaiser is one of those champions that can definitely turn a fight into a 5v4 really easily, especially like even Udyr, you got the argue of CC immunity that I've been throwing up, but it's still hard to time that right. And also, like, if he's able to ult Udyr around objectives, it's just a free dragon or a free herald, or hopefully not, but a free baron for Clinical as Udyr's just crying in that death realm. It's gonna be very, like, straight up, this game is gonna be hard for CB Hydra to play without a doubt. I think even like Zeri, right? There's just so much CC, so much point and click they're able to use. And although Soraka and Seraphine will have a lot of shielding and healing, for the Udyr and Renekton, once we get into the late game, once we start getting Sivir with IE, once we start getting that Kayn and Rust farm, it's gonna be difficult to protect the backline, right? So I'm really curious to see how CB is going to be able to get ahead early. However, that being said, last time, we've already seen the Zeri Seraphine in the bot lane be able to out-CS the hell out of Clinical, just probably off a poke and being able to do a lot with their wave clear, right? We've seen how oppressive Big News is, and now he's on a champion that's arguably more oppressive in those early levels. And, of course, in that mid lane, I mean, it was pretty even in terms of the laning phase, but of course, we've seen Fast Beyond Light for Clinical get very far ahead, and with this Syndra lock-in, if they're able to get ahead, it's going to be destruction. So there's a lot of moving factors here for both these teams that will make this game very, very interesting.
Yep, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, so with that, I think we're going to go ahead and head into our Spectators Delay, and in 3 minutes' time, we're going to bring you guys over to the Rift. If CB Hydra wins, they are going to stay completely undefeated in both games and series, but if Clinical wins, we will see a game 3 tonight. Of course, we're getting some very good games of League of Legends. Stay tuned, keep predicting, and we'll see you guys shortly on the Rift.
When you step into the light, you're never there for long. Rush into a ride, but you're already gone. It may break my heart, but you do what you want. I give all I am to you, I give a lot. I'm already gone. It doesn't make sense, 'cause you're not honest. I wanna understand, but that's not what you wanted. When you think you got me, I played your game. When I think I got you, you slip away. I'm already gone.
Hello, Blue Otter Universe. Welcome back to Game 2 of CB Hydra versus Clinical. Of course, CB Hydra on the blue side. They are up 1-0 in the series. If they can win this game, they will close out the entire series and remain undefeated in their group. However, if Clinical can pull one back, we'll be going to a Game 3 here. Of course, already starting off big. Seraphine getting a lot of gold. They've chunked out that Kane. He was looking for some orbs, but as you know, Kane, early orbs don't do a whole lot on him. They don't necessarily charge it up that much unless you're in the fight for a while. He only got 1 Q in there, I believe. So, kind of a good trade for CB. They're going to be able to get some, well, wait a minute. I just realized, never mind, that's a Seraphine mid, so really it was just poke damage. No first strike, no support item. So yeah, I mean, they're just chilling, gonna get some backs, and of course, they do have a little bit better vision control, but they did drop 2 wards in the same spot. Of course, our predictions going into this game did, funny enough, favor CB Hydra on the channel point vote, but favor Clinical on the popularity vote. So it is a very big toss-up right now. I know, of course, Bully, I believe you predicted for Clinical to win this round, if I'm correct, yes?
No, I still say CB Hydra will, but I do like Clinical's.
Do you think they won draft?
I think Clinical won draft.
So you think CB Hydra wins off the players, then?
Yes.
Okay, well, you heard it here. Bully thinks CB Hydra is just a gap, but right now, Bunny Killer trying to prove him wrong.
Wait, 1 Q right here might kill Big News. Just because
It'll be close.
Q flash, it would have to be a Q flash, I think, because it's not a. Oh.
That level up though coming early. The E misses now. Big News and Bunny Killer on even playing ground. Oh my god, a flash into Big News. He's gonna knock him down, and Bunny Killer going to have to flash away with a skin hair of health. I don't know what a skin hair is. I'm so sorry.
I mean,
But
once a Death
you get the
Grasp
point.
and the Obliterate was used, that was Big News is just way to go in, right? They were full rage. They had the damage. So if you're Bunny Killer, you just gotta make sure your threat was the fact that you still have your abilities up. And since it was down, it gave Big News the opening to make that play. Luckily for them, they were able to survive, and they didn't give up the lane that early.
Yeah, I guess, but they did lose a bit for it. The level advantage on Big News, a full level up over them. And Kane even tried to waste some time going up there. Didn't initiate a fight from what we can tell. And now Udyr full clear while Kane's only at 3 camps. It's so far a strong start for CB.
Yeah, looks like Kane is going for that full clear, and Udyr is swinging behind Bunny Killer.
Oh, wait a minute. Bunny Killer is kind of caught in a tough spot
Yeah,
here.
are they gonna dive?
On the split read. Oh my god,
Bunny
Bunny
Killer's
Killer.
gonna survive.
Once again, a skin hair of health as he hides behind the turret. This time, no TP. If he takes it back, he's losing a lot of minions for it. That wave going to crash into his turret. He has elected to stay, and it doesn't look like Big News knows. Big News had found out, and because of that, they're both staying in that lane, and that's going to be very, very damning for Bunny Killer as maybe a plate gets picked up.
I wonder if Big News is gonna go a little bit too aggressive in top lane and just dive for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely
actually Big News took a lot of damage on that play as well. So Bunny Killer still has a little bit of potential to outplay this Big News. If they go for the dive and they end up dying for it, then that's gonna be.
The pull is in. Wait a
Big
minute.
News?
Big News takes the tower shot. He just kind of stood there for half a second. Maybe he DC'd. Maybe he did.
No,
Did
they did
Schrodinger's
not.
connection. And it's going to mean that Big News falls. And that's a first blood to Bunny Killer. What a turn in this top lane.
I don't think Big News realized, but the Call of the Meek is an AoE ability, and the AoE hit Bunny Killer, which created the turret to just proc on them and die for free, basically.
Yeah, now, that means Bunny Killer's coming back to the lane with a blasting wand and boots. Meanwhile, the Renekton, he's only got a longsword and a dagger. He is up quite a sizable amount of CS. It means the XP's a little bit on his side. He'll hit level 6 first, which is strong. Maybe he can find a turn there. But as for right now, Bunny Killer looking pretty good. Now, of course, there are other lanes to talk about here. Once again, we're seeing Wukong pick up a little bit more CS. They're about 9 CS over if you factor in Nautilus' support item. In the jungle, it's looking pretty even. I don't think Kane's gotten a whole lot of orbs. And then mid lane, of course, it's a little bit of a snooze fest. I mean, it's Seraphine versus Syndra, right? You're just farming for days. Syndra wants her stack. Seraphine just wants to get encores so she can get a team fight at some point in this game. So I guess it does make sense that we've only been talking about top, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, I mean, all the action is just going to keep happening top.
Oh,
but...
it certainly will. And at least it makes for a fun lane with when you know the other two lanes are going to be a little bit boring. It's going to be interesting to see who takes first out Dragon. Traditionally, Kane doesn't usually go for it because you're just kind of waiting for the evolve. You're comfortable dropping the first two. But Udyr's on the top side, and they're looking to take it. And honestly, it might be a pretty free Dragon for them.
Yeah, it should be a free dragon. You see the Udyr looking basically to try to circle around. I think they were looking for Fast Beyond Light in the mid lane, but instead, Fast Beyond Light is going to support them in the dragon pit. But looking at top lane, the CS lead is pretty heavily in Big News' favor. But the kill, the 400 gold, is keeping Bunny Killer slightly ahead in gold.
Yes, it is going to keep Bunny Killer slightly ahead, but we do see Udyr on this top side. Tower dive could be initiated.
They're not going to tower dive.
I don't know if it's necessarily the play you want, considering the Mordekaiser ult is existing here.
Yeah. You can't really, if Slippery tries to fight the Mordekaiser when Mordekaiser has the Realm of Death, it's going to be very close. And if that sways into Mordekaiser's favor, then that's just going to make Big News' life extremely difficult.
Yeah, it certainly won't be easy to play in that regard, but right now, with how big the CS gap is, it's really anybody's game in that top lane at the moment.
Yeah, and right now, bot lane's still low, and we're seeing a CS lead grow into Wukong's favor. It's about... Oh!
Whoa, an engagement in the mid lane here, as Kane has to use ult to try to get away, but Syndra doing a lot of damage to Split Breed and River here. Of course, the Udyr still a level down at the moment, but it's
River's
not
gotta be careful. Wait, Split Breed's going for this invade while Fast Beyond Light has the roam, has the upper hand on this, and let's see if the Scout of the Week does hit.
It's not going to do a whole lot, but here comes Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser's got the ultimate available. He's got the E available. The CC immune isn't going to be enough as Bunny Killer finds his second kill and takes out Split Breed, and that's going to most likely be the Herald claimed for Clinical.
I think that's just too...
Top side, though, big news. He's bullying the Bunny, and he's going to fight. Oh my God! Bunny gets the kill, and that is the third kill for Bunny Killer. The aggression is coming out, the ruthless aggression, and homie's looking like John Cena on this rift as he has the gold gap over everybody at this moment in time.
All right, that just was over-aggressive play after over-aggressive play. If you're Split Breed, right, you saw River basically had 0 mana. They had to take him back. You know Fast Beyond Light still has the unleashed power. You know Farm is still pretty strong, and you know Bunny Killer has the faster roam for Clinical, and you decide to try to invade on the Raptors, and you're just gonna get immediately pinched.
Yeah, oh my God, wait a minute. Is Split Breed gonna go down again? Bunny Killer, 4 kills. Big news coming in. He kills Pharma, but Bunny Killer, he's got that shield ready to go. It's coming out. No way. No way. He finds it. He is 5-0.
And this is Bunny Killer's redemption arc from that first game. Now is giving Big News a taste of his own medicine. And right now, Clinicals, it's their game to lose as they have an extremely strong Mordekaiser.
And at this point, it feels like even Bugs Bunny should be afraid of this Mordekaiser. He's got Rylai's. He's got the Merc Treads. He is feeling himself in this game. He is incredibly strong. He is the boss of the Clinical, the head surgeon, and he's tearing apart CB Hydra this game.
Yeah, and right now, this looks like a completely different Clinical team.
Yeah,
it bodes very well for them.
It's certainly a refreshing change of pace if you're Clinical. And we're looking for more here on CB Hydra, as Type 3 was looking to get something. It's not going to be a whole lot at the moment, but right now, I mean, if this Mordekaiser can stay this far ahead, it's you just got to be happy right now. It's really on making sure you can let this more snowball. But however, we should mention the unsung hero right now on this. Wait a minute, I can't even mention it yet because Big News has elected to take another fight, and Bunny Killer going to be 6-0. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Bully, do you know the definition of insanity?
Yep, and that's what Big News is doing right now because they're trying to take fights against a 5-0 Mordekaiser, now 6-0 Mordekaiser, and I feel like I don't think it's tilt at this point. I think they're just thinking that they could go in, get a quick trade, and get out, but at this point you can't.
Yeah, I think they're blinded by the light, but wrapped up in the news,
is...
another runner in the fight. And now in the river fight, the one bright side if you're CB, there's no Mordekaiser here. All the gold is in that top lane for them. You probably win the gold fight in this 4v4, but is it easy to play? Big Encore comes out, and the Flash is being forced to be burned, but they're in a good position here. Type 3 looking like he's about to go down. He does. Of course, the Kane being ran away from the Udyr, and it looks like this dragon could be claimed by CB, but Mordekaiser, he's roaming from that top river. It could be dangerous right now if you are CB Hydra. Kane goes down, Sivir goes down, but the dragon is most likely going to go down as well, and that's going to be a Cloud Drake. Not necessarily the Drake you want if you're CB.
Yeah, and that was a split focus right there. You saw Fast Beyond Light turn around and look for a River on the Seraphine, and you don't have a lot of damage right now. Manaka is very far behind the CS, has components of their mythic item, but all the damage would have to be done by Pharma, and a lot of burst damage would need to be done. And without that Mordekaiser has the majority of your gold lead, or basically all of it. So you got to pick your fights. You got to make sure when you look for picks, you have the damage to back it up. And right there, they didn't have the damage.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult when you're taking fights on the bottoms of the map, and I'm surprised they didn't recognize that per se. It did look good at first. I have to admit, it did look good at first. But ultimately, you need to recognize the reason you are so far ahead is because of that Mordekaiser. The other thing to note, though, is even with how far ahead the Mordekaiser is, right? Look at the gold lead overall, okay?
Yep.
It's only 1,000 when you have a 6-0 Mordekaiser. And that means if that Mordekaiser is to fall, you are going to have a rough time because that's essentially your entire gold lead wrapped up in Mordekaiser.
Not just a gold lead. That is literally 3k gold that they have on top of this Renekton. So if you lose your Mordekaiser, you're in a gold deficit by quite a lot.
Yeah, and it really... Bunny Killer's got to be feeling the pressure. They got to be feeling the heat of the Hydra. But can they pull it off is the question. In the 3v2, though, Bunny Killer looking to pick up more kills, keep that boss momentum rolling. Big News barely getting out alive. Split Breed barely getting out alive. And I feel like a lot of these plays that Split Breed have been trying to make this game have not been working. I think the performance of the Maokai, has proven to be a lot better for him. The Udyr's not looking as strong, and maybe it's because of the different patches. Maybe it's because of how much harder he is to play without the demonics. With the demonics nerf, but it's looking a little bit rough overall for Split Breed. However, it's not all doom and gloom, as the Kane certainly hasn't been the best play either. This game has not been as much about the junglers as it's been about the top and bot lanes.
Yeah, but as we get further along into this game, we talked about this before. The heal cut is going to be a key factor, and right now we don't see anyone pick up any so far. And in that skirmish around the Dragon Pit, you saw the healing, what it could do, and it turned around that fight completely. So
yeah,
we need to see that coming through ASAP.
You can only imagine the heal cut is on its way for these teams. I have to imagine that Soraka is going to be picking it up on the set of CB Hydra. And really, a lot of people could pick it up. Oh my god, a big root comes out and scatter the wind as Wukong goes down to Fast Beyond Light in the blink of an eye. What's Zeri to do when she's got no more need for the speed?
That's the power of the CC that the Clinical has on their team comp. They're able to basically burst down Zeri without Zeri able to move. And Now it looks like the mid lane turret down to siege. Oh, they are going
God,
for blood.
Soraka not along for this world. However, the Uders got the CC immune. Big news has rotated over. Type 3, goodbye as River picks up the kill. Meanwhile, Kane is on the Rift Herald. He's looking to pick that up for his team. Pull a little bit back from that mid fight, although they did get off pretty well. Slightly extending the gold lead, not a whole lot, but it's looking very good right now for Clinical.
Yeah, right now Split Breed is going to just take that bottom rift scuttle and... Oh, fast speed. Oh, looks like Wukong just popped the ult. Wait.
The Sonic mode
no.
enabled, but Fast Beyond Light not going to be able to do anything as they hide behind their turret. Here comes the big beefy body killer, though, just making the threat, saying, if you guys want to take this fight, that's all right. I'm standing right here. I have one promise. I will kill you all.
Yeah, and this is another big thing that we've seen before, is the vision game, the control over the big objectives. Yes, they gave up the Rift Herald, but right now, the vision is swaying on the side of CB Hydra. They have control of the pit. Yes, they just gave it up, but I expect Type 3 to put down more wards in this area. They're sitting on 3 pink wards, but they're not trying to get any more. They don't have that much vision besides that one river brush.
It's hard for them to put down a whole lot of vision that isn't defensive, though, because of how much threat has been around the mid and bot side of the map. And it's not like they've needed a whole lot of vision top. Oh my god! Scatter the wind! And there goes the Renekton! He's gonna go down really quick. And this Syndra is starting to become as strong as that Mordekaiser.
I mean, the Scatter the Weak into the Unleashed Power, yes, you're getting the kill, but how worth it is it? Because now you have the dragon up in 12 seconds, and you don't have that ability in your arsenal to either blow up Wukong or another carry on CB Hydra. I think that was just a mistaken use of it.
Oh my god, the Encore is going to come out, 3 members charmed, and the health bar's depleting quickly. Split Breed able to take down Pharma. Soraka finds the kill on Type 3, and Bunny Killer caught that he's able to pull the Wukong, but he goes down, and that big bounty is claimed by Seraphine. However, here comes Soraka, but without Scatter the Weak, you're right, Big News is able to stay alive in this fight with the TP. They do find the mid turret with the Rift Herald, but Dragon going to be picked up by CB Hydra, and CB Hydra completely closes the gold gap with that fight, and being able to kill the king of the bunny murderers, it's going to help them a lot, provided the bounty does go to Soraka. I don't know how, sorry, to Seraphine, so I don't know necessarily how strong that is. However, Seraphine has been their most oppressive threat so far this game.
Well, here's the big thing as well, is it was all because CB Hydra was able to get control of the pit. They ran into an Encore. Bunny Killer, I think, mistakenly used that Realm of Death against Wukong. Wukong was able to stay alive in that pit. Bunny Killer wasn't able to execute them quickly, so a lot of the strength on the clinical side was gone for the majority of that fight.
Oh, wait a minute. Here's a quick engage from Big News. Even with how far ahead Fast Beyond Light is, Big News kind of able to be the bully. Not enough, though. He flashed away. I almost wonder if he would have flashed into her, though, if he would have been able to pick up the kill. But ultimately, he does get away from Fast Beyond Light.
Oh, no. I think this is going to be a kill. I think... Oh.
Yeah, but for who is the question? Call the ambulance for Big News or for Fast Beyond Light?
Who knows? But I feel like the game is about to be in a little bit of a lull. Both teams, even in gold. 2 dragons for the side of CB Hydra, 1 for Clinical. And we finally get to see Big News completing the Blade of the Rune King. Now picked up a Hex Drinker as well. But that's still not going to be enough to face against Bunny Killer. Bunny Killer is still way too strong. And they're now working on their 3rd item.
Yeah, the 3rd item, it's going to rip pretty hard, but we're going to start seeing the IEs brought out pretty soon, I believe, which will, of course, make the ADCs a lot stronger in this game as well. The IEs and Navori's, whatever they choose to go for. The one big thing on the map right now is Baron. Baron's up at 22nd. That's going to be a big objective for them to play for, and of course, we've seen Bunny Killer strong on the bottom and tops of the map. Of course, Fast Beyond Light has been oppressive in the side lanes, and side lane control has been pretty heavily on the side of Clinical, which should make playing for Baron a little bit easier should they choose to when it spawns. They have the damage for it, but of course, it's always a risky play.
Yeah, you could say that, but it's always CP Hydra was always first to these objectives, always first to get control over it. A lot of times, the way that Clinical falters is being second. They run into a bad situation and then they give up a lot of kills, a lot of shutdowns, and the game just goes into CP Hydra's favor.
That is certainly true, and that begs the question: do you think that these fights could definitely turn around if Clinical's there first?
Yeah, 100%. But right now, it doesn't look like they play a little bit too reactively, in my opinion. They know this power of Bunny Killer, right? But now Bunny Killer is basically playing CS battle with Seraphine in the bot lane. Seraphine, yes, the River is strong, but they don't have anything else besides a good combo by Fast Beyond Light to deal with Wukong. And now the Baron's actually being started.
Yeah, that Baron, of course, started by CB Hydra, which is a little bit surprising. However, you got to account for the fact that Mordekaiser on the bottom side of the map. Of course, he does have TP. Seraphina can match as well. They're pulling off of it here and looking to turn for the fight. And there comes the TP from River. The fight has begun. Mordekaiser still elected
Bunny
not to
Killer still
TP
hasn't TP'd yet.
Wait, River does stop though. Bunny Killer is able to stop the TP from River. That's going to give them TP advantage. And are they going to be able to kill River here? And makes this Baron kind of unplayable right now for CB Hydra. But they're still going to start it anyways. Bunny Killer's TP still up. Of course, a Encore not up. CC can still stop him from doing it, but it would put River in a very, very risky position. Of course, the Death Realm also was used at that part of the bot lane. Nobody died. And once again, they're going to pull off this Baron. Trucks looking very damaged. Gonna have to take a back here. Get some of that health back. And Baron, once again, going to be in a lull state.
Yeah, but in that fight, Fast Beyond Light did have to blow the flash. Yes, River had to blow the flash and the TP in the bot lane. But it was a good Baron stop. The only problem is if Fast Beyond Light was picked off in that fight, then that probably was just going to be CB Hydra just taking away that entire fight and probably Baron.
Yeah, if that were to be the case, it would be very, very damning for the opponents. But right now, we're once again in this lull state, right? The thing is that Inferno Dragon, it's up in 30 seconds. If CB Hydra claims it, they have a chance at Soul once again. And although last game, we did say we didn't think we were going to see the Soul. This game, if a Soul were to be claimed, it's much more of a strong win con. And by the way, while I was on that rant, Seraphine down in the blink of an eye, the shutdown going to the already strong Mordekaiser.
Oh, Farmer is trying to save this turret, but they're taking a ton of damage right now.
The TP, though, comes out from Fast Beyond Light. It's going to save the turret. And there for the first time this game, Clinical is at that Dragon first.
Wait, Bunny Killer's taking a ton of damage right now, and they actually might go down.
He uses the Death Realm. Big
yeah,
news,
they will go down.
The shield. He gets the kill, and that's a shutdown for Renekton. However, the Dragon looking to go over to the side of Clinical. That's going to be their second Dragon. We're tied up in Dragons 2-2. That mid turret T1 going to go down. Renekton, big shutdown. They're looking for the T2 turret here. It's going to be a 4v3 in this mid lane, though, as they're running through the enemy jungler on the top side. Type looking to try to stop them. And they are gonna find it. The knockup comes out. Wukong still saying knocked out. The TP coming, but is it gonna be too late? Sonic mode activated as they knock down Fast Beyond Light. The fight is turning for Hydra. Pharma tries to get in there. Pharma finds the knockup in the backline, of course. We see as Splitbreed goes down, but this Wukong has gone insane, and he is in the game as an ace is here for CB Hydra, and that means this Baron that was in the lull state for so long is going to be firmly in their grasp. They're going to pick up the 1.5k gold, and on top of that, that Baron power play is going to be activated for them as they're going to find themselves 4,000 gold ahead after this Baron is claimed.
Yeah, they just look to fight without their Mordekaiser, knowing Mordekaiser died. First of all, in the bot lane, Bunny Killer did pretty much just try to take a turret in front of Renekton, who has Blade of the Rune King and a
He went for the steal. Oh. He's now caught in a hard place, and he's going to go down without fighting, and he kills. Big News kills him twice in a row, and Baron is up. He is down, and I believe Baron found all 5 members of the team, including Splitbreed.
Yeah, and that is just a detrimental fight. When you're the 4 members of Clinical, you're looking for a fight. You know it's going to be an odd man fight because your Mordekaiser, who had 8 kills, is dead. If you get collapsed on, it's going to be awful, and that's exactly what happened. Fast Beyond Light tried to move up, basically melee form, tried to get the unleashed power onto Wukong, but instead Wukong was able to get out and start putting down a ton of damage with that lightning crash. And that not only basically secured the winning team fight, but the Baron, and now CB Hydra is in the Dragon seat with a lot more issues for Clinical to battle.
The one thing that's worth mentioning is this game, it does feel like Clinical has the slightly better team comp toward. Well, I actually don't know if that's true when you have Seraphine and Soraka on your team. It's definitely still super close. One of the power spikes we haven't seen is Sivir picking up that crit item. It hasn't come out yet, but we're getting another fight here. Zeri in Sonic mode, but it doesn't matter because that Kane's going to find the shutdown on her. The TP comes out. Type almost going down, but does that really matter? Type's not the threat you're really worried about if you're CB. Big news. Barely staying alive, and these tanks are getting so much heal. Holy crap! Big News is popping off! It's Big News as he finds the triple kill! He's chasing Fast Beyond Light down. He's turned the fight for Hydra, but the 2 strongest members of Clinical still alive, trying to go through with the surgery, but it's not going to find it. Big News with the Quadra. Can he find the pentakill here in Blue Honor League? He's now at the same point as Bunny Killer, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the health to commit to Fast Beyond Light, and that means he's going to get away with a quadrill. After being bullied all game, he's turned around and become the bully himself and proven himself as a strong threat, whether he's far ahead or from behind.
Yeah, and just face it right here, Manaka is just not a threat. They're still sitting on 1 completed item, 27 minutes in the game. They pretty much don't do a lot of damage, especially when you're facing against this Renekton, this Udyr, and a lot of healing. You're not going to be able to do enough damage to basically help your big carries like Fast Beyond Light and Bunny Killer finish these major tanks off. And that's exactly what happened. Is Big News just survived the entire time. River was positioning over the wall, which they were just throwing abilities and helping their team win a skirmish. That was definitely a skirmish, and that does not do well when your team, like, you have a Syndra who's burst, your Sivir is very weak at this moment, and eventually you're just going to lose a fight.
Yeah, and that was kind of certainly the case overall. I think it's really hard to take fights too, right? When Sivir hasn't hit that second item power spike. Second item right now on ADC is so strong. You know, I mean, in fairness, Zeri got to lead it right away, but they spent so much on taking out Zeri to have that ADC advantage, just for Sivir to, like, not do a whole lot of damage overall.
Yeah, and not only that, they just got one shot by basically these tanks in the game. I wouldn't say Big News is a tank,
that's fair.
It all stems from Big News was bullied the entire game, but just a little bit of greediness from, I believe, Bunny Killer in the bot lane, trying to go for a turret when Big News had the Blade of the Rune King. Gave him a slight shutdown. Now they're a big threat. Now they have 3 items.
And there was also the Baron Pit kill as well. When he
and the Baron Pit kill, yeah. They try to steal a Baron as a Mordekaiser. Yes, it's possible, but you're just giving up more and more gold to the enemy team and power.
And the question is, have they given too much? They don't want to give this Inferno Drake, but if this steal is for nothing, he goes in at 5,000 HP. Of course, he has the ultimate up, and we're getting another 5v5 in this very river, but they're going down quick. This Zeri doing so much damage as 2 go down. They're looking for the 3rd. They're chasing them around the Sivir, nowhere to run. They go down to Bunny Killer in the midst of everything. He does ult the river, and he's going to be able to find the kill, but it looks like that's going to be it, as Wukong is going to take them down. Pharma running for their life, praying to God to live, and he's going to get away, but at what cost? It's a 4-for-1 for Hydra. It's the Soul Point Drake, and they are so far ahead. They're almost at that 10,000 gold spike, and it's hard to see a world where Clinical is able to remove them.
Yeah, and looking back at these first 2 games, that Seraphine has been a real problem for Clinical, because since they're so far behind in to getting to these pits, to these major objectives, they run face first into an encore, and it happened multiple times. It starts off the team fight, makes Wukong basically untouchable, and the fight is over before Clinical is able to even do anything about it.
Yeah, that makes it it's a really tough time right now for Clinical. Of course, there's one thing that's going to change going into the next fight. Aside from the fact that they just got a ton of gold, Sivert now has the Navoris. They are finally a champion. However, yeah, they're a champion. I mean, Zeri has Last Whisper. She has Bloodthirster. She is gapping Maya in terms of the items right now, which is a little bit tough when you're gapping the server with that many items. It's hard. They need to find picks, but they're not as heavily as a pick comp as last time. They need, and the other thing too is Bunny Killer keeps finding themselves in these spots where the only people they're ulting is the Seraphine or the Soraka, and Big News and Split Breed are able to just run through their entire team with Wupong behind them. It's one of those tough situations, right, when you're the only one ahead as a Mord too, because once you use that Death Realm, your team no longer has that Embracive threat on the field, so they can just kind of run through them. As this Baron is began, this could be the last Baron of the match if Clinical are able to find it, and they do. They're once again on that power play, and they're already running through the team. They're in Bunny Killer's face. Bunny Killer finds the ult, but it does not matter when you're against Wupong, because Wupong is running wild. They see Pharma. They want Pharma. They're going to get Pharma. Pharma goes down. They see Fast Beyond Light. Fast Beyond Light might be able to get away, but they are chasing them down. The Black Plant there, Type able to hit it, not letting them get close enough, but the Baron is up. It's a 5v3. That middle inhib is exposed. Type 3 even more exposed as he's trying to run away from the comfort of his base. Big News says, I want the kill. Not going to find it yet as that inhib goes down. A decently sized Baron wave going to be entering the base of Clinical. Pharma and Bunny Killer still down for another 20 seconds. Fast Beyond Light, of course, has the wave clear to sustain it. But on the top side here, we're seeing Zeri with the split push. She has a wave of her own. A second wave going to be joining it as the entire team rotates around that T3 top tower. Going to fall any moment. The TP being brought out right now from Renekton. It looks like River might be caught, though. The stopwatch gonna go off. Fast Beyond Light. She doesn't have the health to commit to it. The flash comes out. The encore comes out. People getting sharp. Fast Beyond Light goes down. And it's Wupong in the face of Bunny. In the backline, Kane is there. But Big News says, hi, hello, get the hell away from my team. It's just the Nexus turret and a ton of Baron minions. Only 3 of them left to defend. Can Bunny Killer become the boss they need him to be? There goes Type 3. It's just Bunny Killer left for Clinical. He's their last hope. The Nexus turrets have fallen. Bunny Killer has fallen. Clinical has fallen. As CB Hydra remains undefeated.
Yeah, and that's a big glow up from Big News as they had a rough time early, but just a little bit of mistakes here and there gave him the opportunity to make a comeback in this game. And unfortunately for Clinical, they weren't able to get ahead in this bot lane. Bot lane was proven to be a big issue in both game 1 and game 2, and it felt like the damage wasn't there. It was kind of in the shoulders of Fast Beyond Light and Bunny Killer. But as we saw in game 1, it did not happen in top lane as well. So just a little bit. I think it all stems from CSing again, right? They fell back in CS. They had actually a great opportunity to use the Mordekaiser to win early fights, but I don't think they used that opportunity effectively because they never brought Mordekaiser to look for these dragons. They were not set up in the pit early on, which gave CB Hydra an opportunity to look for a fight before these key members are able to make it.
And yeah, I completely agree. I also don't think we've seen enough. I think in the same regard, we didn't really see Mordekaiser rotate out that lane till it was a little bit too late until Zeri had such a far advantage that it was hard. But another thing I want to point out here is it's crazy that Big News was able to still find the most damage in the game despite being down behind for so long off just picking up a couple of bounties. I swear to God, I can do so much once he finds the gold he needs.
Yeah, and I think it was big congrats. I think Clinical still has a lot of, solid moments, and it's still a long season. We're only in week 2. There's still 4 weeks left in the regular season, or 5 weeks left in the regular season, and they could basically fix a little bit of their mistakes. They could go into playoffs, and they could get their revenge.
It's definitely possible, but I think a lot needs to be cleaned up. The Clinical, definitely a solid team. They wouldn't have won week 1 otherwise. They put up a strong fight against CB Hydra, but I think when it comes to a lot with their farming game and a lot with kind of just playing the team fights together, there is a lot more that can be worked on before the playoff stages. Do I think Clinical will find a playoff spot? It's pretty likely, but I definitely think there are some elements of the gameplay that need to be cleaned up. On the other side of things, holy crap, CB Hydra has really proven themselves both weeks to be a dominant threat in Blue Water League.
Yeah, and they're definitely a. I would put them as a lock to be a playoff team.
I think right now, out of both streamed matches we've seen, I think CB's kind of been the strongest performing team on stream so far. And just the combination of Wupong and Big News. I know, of course, they have so many supporting members on the team that have done a lot, but when you're looking at the flashiness that you see on streams, right? The Big News and Wupong have gone off wildly. I've seen Wupong before this as well. Wupong is such a consistently strong player, and when they need to pop off, they do. We've seen how good just their farming alone was in laning phase and being able to bully their opponents and then pop off in those team fights. And the other thing is, people haven't really respected the Zeri on him yet. Like, we haven't seen any Zeri bans across both these games. It's kind of surprising. I think going to future games, of course, especially when teams watch these VODs back and whatnot, they're going to realize that Wupong's might be the strongest ADC in Blue Otter Gold thus far. And it's going to be interesting. One thing we didn't really see this game was bot lane being targeted by junglers. And I think that's something that's going to end up changing going forward when you play against CB Hydra.
Yeah, and I think they have to take the Zeri out. Because even if they put the Zeri down early, it always came back to haunt them.
Yeah, Zeri is just one of those champions who, even when they're nerfed, they never find a way of being balanced just because of how strong their kit is. So when it's in the right hands, the ability to just run circles around the enemy team without consistent point-and-click CC. Like, of course, they did have the Nautilus ultimate, but even that, it's only up once every 80 seconds, right? So if it's not up and if they can't get into range of the Zeri, it gets really difficult. And I think one thing about CB Hydra is, although they don't necessarily smash lanes as individuals, once they come together for those team fights, as a team, as a 5-stack, they have proven to be just magnificent. Every play seems like they're on the same page. Every ultimate, every encore, every target selection, it constantly feels like all 5 of them are on the same page. And that's might be the most important thing when it comes to competitive play. Sure, micro can be important. Of course, if you stop every lane, you'll win the game. But even when they're down 7 kills, they have found it in themselves to just, as long as they're a team, they're like the Spartans. They set up the phalanx, and there's no breaking through.
Yeah, and obviously, I'd love to see more from these teams going forward. CB Hydra 4-0, and that's Clinical 1-1, but still a lot of gameplay left. Who's your MVP for this series?
Honestly, I think it's tough. I think there's a lot of names. I think when you look at the ace, if you go for like both teams, I definitely think that Fast Beyond Light was such a strong player for the side of CB Hydra. They were just consistently strong both games. But when you're looking at the MVP overall for CB Hydra, it's tough. I think you gotta give it to either Big News or Wupong, although like River's kind of an unsung hero as well. But overall, I think I'd give it to Wupong personally. I think Wupong just consistently was able to get that CS advantage. They popped off at every team fight they could, except for the ones where they just got completely dived. And although Big News did the most damage both games and whatnot, without Wupong, I don't think they ever pop off in Game 2.
I agree. I think in Game 2, Big News was able to find themselves back into the game because of Wupong, and also because of River and Trucks. They basically kept him alive. Big News was able to pick up a couple kills. In Game 1, they were a heavy threat, but it felt like Wupong was always such a huge threat in both games that in a 4v4 situation, it always went to CB Hydra's side.
Yeah, I certainly agree. Go ahead and let us know in the chat who you guys think the MVP was in these games. And we are, I believe, that's probably going to be it for the stream, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this week. Tomorrow we do have BOL IBS, so always a fun time then. So make sure you catch that while we have some two big heavy hitter teams. We have TD Syndicate, who's been known in the IBS scene for a long time, against TE Aeon.
Yeah, so it should be one hell of a match. Next week, you can find us for the Gold League at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, tomorrow, 8 p.m., IBS League should be a hell of a match. Go ahead and check that out. That's going to be all from us tonight. So, Bully, I'll let you say your good nights. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to cast this, and I will see you guys next week.
That's good.